Okay. Okay, let me just, okay. Okay, how's everyone doing? I hope everyone's having a great day. Okay. Hello, everyone. Okay, let me help Hoovian out here first. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone's having a great Sunday. How you have only a million subs and only 5 people here? It's a YouTube glitch. It's now 157. It's just sometimes it doesn't register all the number right away. Invite me to the business when you get the chance. Yeah, we could possibly do that. Hi, I'm sort of new. Do I have to resupply in the nightclub, or is it automatic? No, you don't have to resupply anything in the nightclub, Ashton. Thank you for the super chat. The nightclub will produce on its own. Just make sure that you set the technicians to South American imports, pharmaceutical research, cash creation, cargo and shipment, and sporting goods. Those are the 5 that you want producing. And when one of them finishes, it's not going to assign to another one. So if you want to start producing a little bit more, then assign it to the documents or the weed. I forget what those were called in the nightclub, but remember, sporting goods, South American imports, cash creation, cargo and shipments, and pharmaceutical research. Those are the most profitable ones. That's meth, a cargo warehouse, coke, counterfeit cash, and bunker. Organic produce. Okay, yeah, that's what it's called. Today's my 23rd birthday, and I'm having a great one. I got a Vancouver Grizzlies jersey and some Maple Leafs, Yankees, and Chiefs Mex as gifts. Well, thank you, Mr. Waifu. Thank you for the super chat. And thank you, Hayabusa. Thank you for the super chat. What do I think of the 101st Airborne? Well, very brave people, but there was, like, being a paratrooper during World War II was, you know, even scarier, I would say, than being like just a frontline regular soldier, because you didn't know exactly where you were going to land. When you were, you know, the goal of paratroopers was to go behind enemy lines, and you didn't know exactly where you were going to land. Like, you know, you see it in, like, a lot of World War II movies and, like, video games. It's like you see paratroopers get caught in trees, and then you'll see the Nazis that they'll just shoot them. That actually did happen. When paratroopers would get caught in trees, their parachutes would get stuck in trees, and the Nazis wouldn't oftentimes take them as prisoners. They would just shoot them when they were trapped in the trees. How's your Sniper Elite video getting on? Oh, the lore video. I'm working on it. It's gonna be a really interesting one when I make it. It's gonna be a really detailed one. What do you think about Mercenaries 3? Well, I wish that there was a Mercenaries 3. Mercenaries 3 actually has a little bit of gameplay of it on YouTube. You can see before it got canceled. It was supposed to be in Cuba too, but it unfortunately got canceled because Pandemic Studios got shut down by EA, because EA ruins everything. Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, keep going here. Oh, I will reply to you a little bit later, Caliber. I just was really busy last night, so I just didn't get a chance to look. But I'll look at your messages later and reply to you later. Hello, Polly. How are you? When's the next Crime Boss playthrough? Maybe tonight, or possibly tomorrow. I'm really sorry I've been delayed on the crime boss parts, guys. I've been busy with so many things, but I am gonna finish it. I promised I would finish it, and I will finish it. Hey Pat, so you know Sebi hates Outback Steakhouse, so I went there today and sent him pictures of the menu just to run salt in the wound. DMZ after the stream. Well, thank you for the super chat. Thank you, Melon. I might play DMZ. I might play DMZ later tonight, maybe, if I'm not busy. But yeah, I noticed that a lot of Australians actually do not like Outback Steakhouse, so that's I've never actually even eaten an Outback Steakhouse. Do I have a favorite Assassin's Creed? My favorite Assassin's Creed at the classic ones, I would say, probably would be Assassin's Creed 1, because I just like the Crusade setting and just the dark atmosphere of that game. Thank you, insert name, for the super chat. My favorite, more newer Assassin's Creed, it's probably kind of an older one, but it'd probably be Assassin's Creed Rogue. That would probably be my favorite of the newer games. What's Outback Steakhouse? Oh, it's an Australian-American restaurant, but I don't think it's even run by Australians, but I know a lot of Australians actually don't like Outback Steakhouse. Okay. Okay. Why do I play on PS4? I can't play with you because you got Rolls-Royce console, bro. Thank you, Stone Razier. I want to eventually, when I get the chance, make another character on the PS4, and then I could possibly help people out on that. But it just sucks so much. I wish you could just play PS4 and PS5. That way I could just switch between both, and I could maybe do like half the stream on PS4 and half on PS5. But it's just such an annoying hassle making a new character and just doing everything again. Today's my birthday. You're the legend for streaming on my birthday. How are you doing? I just got back home from TGI Fridays. Hope you enjoy your Sunday. Thank you, Shimon. And happy birthday, man. Thank you. Hope you had a great time at TGI's.
And we have a sale. Digital assets transferred to your account. And that's it from LJT.
Hey, bro. I just finished The Sopranos. What do you think happened at the end? Possibly Tony, died, or, you know, I always thought there was, like, a theory, like, what if nothing happened at the end? Like, what if it was just Tony's paranoia? Because that's the thing about the Sopranos ending, is you don't know what happened. All right, yeah, Mark brings up a good point. Yeah, when you're running the nightclub, make sure that your businesses are, that you know, that your businesses aren't shut down. Do you have a normal job, or you just do this? Well, I have two other ways that I make money besides YouTube, but YouTube is my main source of money. I would say that 70% of my money comes from YouTube. The other 30% of my money comes from the stock market and my rental property. That's what it comes from, because I run a rental in real life too. But it's but the thing about this is, I don't know, like, I don't know if the term normal job is, like, because it's still a job. It's what I do. I mean, I work hard on my channel, and I worked really hard to get here to where I am. What are you talking about, Lucas? I always thank people for the donations. I don't know what your problem is. I always read donations and I thank them. And you guys couldn't see his comment because the comment filter blocked his comment, but it was just, I have never once asked for donations on on my streams. You can go on my streams for years and years. There's not one time that you will find on my stream ever where I have ever asked people, give me a donation. I've never done that, not even once. I have donations as an option that people can donate to me, but I have never asked for donations. When people do make donations to me, I always tremendously appreciate it, and it does help me a lot, and I thank people for it. But I've never asked for donations. I've never had like an entitled mindset or asked people to give it to me. And I don't think that people should ever give me a donation unless they think I deserve it, unless they really like my content and they truly think I deserve it. Other than that, don't feel like you need to give me a donation, guys. Don't feel like you're obligated for me to give me a donation for me to read your comment, because I'll read your comment regardless of whether you donate or not. I try to read as many as I can. It's just sometimes I read the super chats first because I can see them because they're bright and I just don't want to miss them. But you never have to, don't feel like you have to give me a donation for me to read your comment or for me to like you or even to play with me. People to play with me all the time don't send me in donations. That's fine. You don't have to donate to play with me. What I'll just say is that there's just, I know I've brought this up a few times, but there's a lot of entitled people on YouTube that, and the Twitch streamers are the worst. They're the worst with this, but there's, like, a lot of entitled people that, like, they say, for example, they say, oh, give me, a donation, you have to give me a donation, blah, 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 this. And I'll tell you something, these streamers are massive scumbags because nobody's obligated to give you a donation. They only give you a donation when they actually like your content and they like you as a person. But what I'll say is, I've seen some really dumb things that people have said. Like, I've seen people say before, they say that viewers have to give them donations because they get free content. But that's a total lie. Viewers don't get free content. And here's the thing about this. Even if you've watched a YouTube channel, right, for years, and you have never given that YouTube channel even one donation, you have still helped that YouTube channel make money. So it's not that you literally, it's not that people are getting free content. That when those streamers say that their viewers are getting free content, it's a lie. Because even if people don't donate, it's not free content because you watch ads for it. You watch ads. So maybe you're not paying for YouTube itself, but you're still watching ads. And those ads, the YouTuber gets money from that. So you still support a channel by watching their videos and watching the ads. And most YouTube channels, the vast majority of their revenue comes from ad revenue. Most YouTubers will tell you that. So when I hear these scumbag YouTubers say that their viewers are getting like free content and they have to give them donation, no, they don't get free content. They watch ads and you get paid for that. So that's just my view on that. Is I cannot stand some of these entitled people and see here. My Coke, Cash, and Meth all say suspended, but they're not shut down. So do I have to supply them in order for my nightclub to work? All say suspended. I would start up operations, buy supplies for all of them. Just you might have to do the mission to set it up again. So do that. It should give you a free batch of supplies when you do this mission to set it up. That usually happens when you get raided. The business gets shut down, and if you fail. But if you restart the business and the nightclub is still not producing, at that point what you do is you unlink the businesses from your nightclub and then link them right back. And if that doesn't fix it at that point, the only thing that you might have to do is you might have to buy a new nightclub location. I know that really sucks, but that's like a really rare glitch I heard about. It's never happened to me before, but I know it's happened to a lot of other people where the only thing they can do in the end is buy a new nightclub and that fixes the problem. Thank you, Ashton. Me who spent a lot donating to you because I always enjoy your content since 2018 since destroying 2 Akula Griefers of a Savage. Oh, well, thank you, thank you, Mr. Waifu. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you, man. I know you've been one of my oldest viewers too. Thank you, Victor, the professional. Thank you, man, for the super chat, and thank you, Zan Virus. Just past the $1 billion mark in GT Online using your methods. Thank you for helping me go from broke to constantly super rich in GT Online. No problem, man. I know my money guides have been posted like years ago, and they're still helping so many people years later. Oh, whoa. Huh, I'm sorry about that. How did I find... I love the PS2. A lot of great PS2 games out there. Okay. Here we go. Okay. 9 minutes, or 8 minutes, I should say. That was still pretty good time to finish this mission. GTA 6 will probably be revealed this year. Well, I think that it shouldn't be that much of a problem to make a GTA 4 remaster. I mean, with a GTA 4 remaster, they could just port the PC graphics, you know, to PS5 and Xbox Series X. They could do that.
Make it quick.
Okay, I guess we're waiting till it gets delivered. What's the best passive business apart from Nightclub and Lab? Bunker. Well, who says that Grove Street Games will be the ones remastering GTA 4? I think they got fired too. I have a question. What's your question? Rockstar could get another company to do the dirty work for them on the remaster. Well, I don't have a problem with it if Rockstar outsources a GTA 4 remaster to another company, but please make sure you know that it's a reliable company and you check the final product before it's released. Would you like to see a DLC about Michael? Sure, I would. The problem with Grove Street Games was that they only had 21 people working on the Definitive Edition. Thank you, Mark, for the super chat. And I'll tell you something. I don't blame Grove Street Games entirely for the remaster disaster, because what I'll say about this is wait, were you selling something in here? What I'll say about this is, think about it this way, guys. Okay. I'm gonna go to B. Think about it this way, guys, right? Let's say that I am, that I am in charge of building a building, right? And basically what happens is I outsource a company to build that building for me, and that company is incompetent. They don't know what they're doing, but they also don't have the manpower for it. And that building starts having issues, electrical issues, you know, plumbing issues, you know, stuff like that. Now, whose fault is that ultimately? You know, it is the company who did the job too. But it's also my fault because I brought in the incompetent company. So the thing about this is I think people are directing their anger only at Grove Street Games. But I think there's anger and blame to also be put on Rockstar. Because Rockstar are the ones who hired Grove Street Games. And you're telling me that Rockstar couldn't have checked the final product? You're telling me that Rockstar didn't know what a disaster it was? It's still their thing. So, you know, this is GTA. This is, you know, this is their main source of income is GTA. So, you know, you'd think you'd have somebody that knows what they're doing. Oh, and look at this here. The undercover cop. You see him right there? So, when you get this mission, sometimes there's an undercover cop at a location. You have to hide it in a place where the undercover cop isn't going to see you. So right here, this will be a safe place to put it. Okay. Okay, 1 second here. Okay.
Someone film that shit.
See here. Thank you, Melon. As good as GTA 4 Remaster would be, I don't see them doing it, Pat. Rockstar and Take-Two isn't gonna do it even if it makes them boatloads. Yeah, and Rockstar doesn't really have respect for GTA 4 anymore, when you think about it, because they never acknowledged GTA 4, ever. They acknowledged, like, Vice City and San Andreas, like, on their anniversaries, but they didn't acknowledge GTA 4 at all. And thank you, Fasco. Thank you for the super chat. Now, look, guys. Grove Street Games is like a team of 21, right? You know what they could have done? Instead of, like, the disaster that they had? You know what they should have done? They should have done it like this. In 2021, for, like, the holiday season, they should have released GTA 3. And so Grove Street Games should have put all their effort, everything, into releasing just GTA 3. And they should have just released GTA 3 on, you know, in November of 2021 and just focus on it and make GTA 3 Definitive Edition the most perfect, smooth game with no issues whatsoever. And then in the next year, in 2022, focus entirely on Vice City. Just focus on just doing Definitive Edition Vice City, put your absolute best into it. And then release Vice City at the end. And then in 2023, just focus all your efforts on San Andreas. And just release San Andreas Definitive Edition. So, if they released one Definitive Edition game every year, and they literally did their absolute best with it, they wouldn't have been this much of a disaster. But doing, like, 3 games at once, with, like, a team of, like, 21 people, that's, like, a recipe for disaster. Bro, how can I add you so I can join you? Oh, well, you could tell me your PSN, Jake, and I could try to add you after the stream. My friends list might be full, but I could try to see if I can add you. But I have to play in friends-only sessions. And the reason I have to play in friends-only sessions is because it's easier to join me on Red Dead, though, if you play with me on Red Dead. Because on Red Dead, anybody who adds any of my friends can join me. But on GTA Online, it's only people that have me directly added. And I would love to be able to play in a public session, but I can't do that, unfortunately. Because if I play in a public session, anybody who's watched my old videos, my old streams, you know exactly what's going to happen if I play in a public session. I'm going to have people that are going to chase me down, and just attack me, just harass me, and we're not even going to be able to sell one business without something going wrong. So that's ultimately why I have to. I hope you understand that, Jake. That's ultimately why I have to play in friends-only sessions. I appreciate the super chat, but it's because I had idiots that would just constantly join me, and they would just blow me up, and they would and so it's only the people that are on my friends list. But I always add new people, so like every month I'm trying to add more people, so I do clear space for more people. And you don't have to necessarily super chat me for me to add you. I add people for my comments a lot of times too, but it's just understand that I just can't add everyone because there's just so many people that are just trying to add me, and there's only 2,000 people I can have on my friends list. So I try my best to every month I delete a few people off my friends list, but the people I delete, I don't delete them for no reason. It's people that have been like offline for like a year or more, and then I try to make spots for like people who are still playing to be able to play with me and stuff. But do you understand that, Jake? So you can tell me your PSN and I can see if I can try to add you after the stream, but I have to check if there's Thank you, Victoria. Thank you for the super chat, too. I recently started at the gym. What's your advice for doing squats? Well, I'm not really the best person to ask for advice like that. Like, I do them, and I do leg workouts, but I don't know if my advice would necessarily be the best for you, but I can give you some advice when it comes to weights, though. I can give you some advice regarding that. So, basically, my friend, he works out a bit, and he gave me these tips on, like, lifting weights, and it actually does work, and it's helped me out a lot. But, basically, what my friend told me to do is he told me that when I go to the gym, like, find out what's the max that you can, like, lift on a machine, right? Find out, like, what the max that you can lift, but don't hurt yourself, obviously. Try to find out what, like, the max you can lift, and try to do, like, a few sets on that. And do that for, like, a month. So, like, find out what the max you can lift, do a few sets of that, do that for, like, a month. You know, take breaks, not every day, obviously, but take breaks a few days. And then after, like, a month or two, try, like, putting on 5 pounds more on that weight. And you should have built up a little bit more muscle to be able to lift the next thing. And then you try, like, to do a few months of, like, that next new weight. And then after like, a few months of doing that, like, put on 5 more pounds. And you just keep doing that, and I've noticed that does help, because I wasn't able to, like, lift, like, certain, like, the weights that I was lifting, I wasn't able to lift, like, 5 or 10 pounds more than that. And then after doing several workouts for, like, a few months on that, and I put 5 more pounds on, I was able to do it. So that was, that has helped me a lot. Thank you, Del the Gamer. Thank you for sponsoring my channel. My 3 favorite games. My favorite video game of all time would have to be Saints Row 2. My second favorite game would have to probably be Skyrim. My third favorite game, I'd say right now, probably Modern Warfare 2, because I know that might surprise some people, but I really like the DMZ mode, and I really enjoy it. And I really do play it. Maybe I'll make guides on DMZ, because I'm really into DMZ. So that's what I'm really enjoying right now. Working out is unhealthy? What do you mean? Zhao's, okay. I'll try to add you after the stream, Jake. But that's, I'm always open to adding everyone. You don't have to donate to me for me to add you, but it's just, there's just a lot of people that are always trying to add me. And I wish I could have an infinite friends list. I really wish I could. Even if I could have 10,000 friends on my friends list, I'd do it. Just so that like, so many more people could play with me. But, what is the limit on Xbox friends list? Does anybody know? Because on PlayStation it's 2,000. Does anybody know what Xbox limits are in friends list? I'm just curious on that. Thank you, Delta Gamer. Love your content, bro. Thank you, man. Hey, Pat, I just wanted to give you, a huge thanks for all your content, and I really do wish Rockstar remasters GTA 4 one of the best games ever. Thank you, AP. Thank you, Del. I don't know, WRV, good question. The mystery, oh, it's 1,000? Oh, okay. The mystery of Donald Love's package and the Oriental guy's been solved. The package is plates to counterfeit money. The Colombians caught them. Well, how do you know that? How do you know the Colombians caught them? Thank you, Suspect 13. Thank you for the super chat. I'll see you later, Patrick. I don't feel so good, man. Have a very good night. Well, I hope you feel better, Jacob. Take care, man. Are you scared of trolls? No, I'm not scared of trolls, but they're annoying as hell. Oh, 1,000 friends on Xbox, okay. I'm getting close to the end of Saints Row 1, and that game is an underrated masterpiece and way better than cringe WoW reboot. And I'm fighting the last rival gang, so let me see here. The Los Carnales. Well, I don't. Was that a joke when you said the Los Carnales? Because that's a Saints Row common joke. Ow. I'll see who's available. This is what I'm gonna do. At the end of the near the end of the stream, we'll do an auto shop contract, and whoever invites me first, I'll join on them, just to be fair to everyone, because I know a lot of people are asking for to play that. So whoever invites me first, I'll announce it when I'm ready to do an auto shop contract. So whoever invites me first, I'll just join that to be fair to everyone. My 22nd year of life sucked with Cringe Row, one of the worst years to be a Halo fan, but I did get into following sports, which helped me. Thank you, Mr. Waifu. And I'll tell you about Cringe Row, the Saints Row reboot. I felt like Volition destroyed a part of my childhood with the Saints Row reboot, because it's like it's so far away from what the original game was, and it's like the developer is just so out of touch with the fans. It's just. Yes, I did see RPG gameplays video.
We on?
Enter a boat. Oh, that's far. Okay, I'm gonna take a helicopter for this. Over here. Okay, let's go to it. Just got myself the Arena Workshop and the Dominator. Oh, okay. The Dominator is one of the better vehicles from the Arena, but the Arena is not a good way to make money, though, Deal Gaming. My name is Jaws, like the shark. My favorite movies are the Jaws movies, so based off the fact that I like sharks. Okay, Jake. I never actually watched the Jaws movies when I was a kid, though, but I did, I know those movies are like the movies where, like, it's the dramatic music starts playing and you see the shark, the fin, above water. I'm proud I've never touched Cringe Row ever. Well, that's the reason that I played Cringe Row. I played Saints Row just so that, you know, people could, I could show people what the game was like. Will you play Watch Dogs Legion? I already did, but I'm willing to do multiplayer streams of it again, and I'm willing to do another playthrough of it. Well, I was thinking about doing a playthrough of just Aiden Pierce on it. You'd like Demon Slayer, Pat. There's no superpowers in aside from the demons, and it's just straight swords with fancy effects from Japanese mythology. I actually did watch a few episodes of it a long time ago, but I never got around to finishing it. But I do want to, Tanjiro was his name? Tanjiro, I think. But I gotta watch it. I know there's a Demon Slayer game, though. I don't know what the game is, but I've seen it on the PlayStation Store before. How reactive Volition rips your boss off? What, you mean, like, my boss character? What, you mean, like, you know, making, like, an antagonist, like, my boss, that's, you know, go ahead. Do it, then. For people that don't know what happened, there's this one YouTuber called RPG Gameplay, who he's a Saints Row YouTuber mostly, and RPG Gameplay really didn't like the Saints Row reboot, and the main bad guy in the Saints Row reboot, man, I already forgot his name because he's so forgettable, but the main bad guy, the actor that's in the Saints Row reboot, he looks a lot like RPG Gameplay's avatar, like his character, his boss, he looks a lot like him. And so people, there's not 100% proof that Volition did it to make fun of RPG gameplay, but there are similarities between the characters. So I don't know if it's a coincidence or whether it's they did it to make fun of him. But if they actually make my character as like an antagonist, I'm like, go ahead, do it. Then it's like because if that's how you're gonna, like, you know, treat, like, you know the fans of your game, because the thing is, though, I'm a fan. RPG Gameplay is a fan. We don't just hate on the Saints Row reboot for no reason. We don't do stuff like that. It says we were just disappointed. We expected better from Volition. Yes, I'll do Watch Dogs 2. One day I'll do it. Blizzard canceled the PvE mode in Overwatch after making false promises to their fan. I was very disappointed when I heard news. Wait, so what did they say specifically about the cancellation? I don't play Overwatch, but they promised the mode, George, and then what was their reasoning for canceling it? One auto shop contracts in probably an hour. What is my favorite Call of Duty campaign? Call of Duty World at War, I would probably say, yeah. Probably Call of Duty World at War. Thank you, Jake. Pro, there's people being mean to me. Let them be mean to me. It's fine. I don't even really ban people for being mean to me in chat. Sometimes my moderators I know will do that, but I don't do it myself personally. The only time I will ban somebody from my chat personally myself is when they are when they're being racist or when they are you know, trying to pull a scam. But it's just other than that, people can come in my chat and they can insult me. They can say what they want. I don't believe in censorship, so that's you know, it's my viewpoint on that. I will time people out, though, if they spam, but... What do you think of GTA The Lost and Damned? I like the Lost and Damned. Wait, hate you? Wait, what? What do you mean? My last favorite one was Call of Duty Ghosts. Call of Duty Ghosts had a great story, but they just abandoned it. Wonder if they'll ever answer the story. The bunker is the best passive business apart from the nightclub and the nightclub and the acid lab. I'll do a Red Dead Redemption 1 walkthrough this year. Heart of the Frag Grenade. Yeah, you're talking about Heart of the Reich, that mission in World at War. Because in Call of Duty World at War, when you play the game on Veteran, the enemies will just throw tons of grenades at you. Like, they won't stop. It's ridiculous. Thank you, Turkish Outlaw. Haitians in Vice City are underrated and also very strong. Yes. Oh. Ooh.
Okay.
At post-op. But the Haitian gang is like the largest threat to you in Vice City, because when you complete Vice City, every time you go into Little Haiti, they will be hostile towards you. And so it's really hard. So what I personally recommend doing is, if you have any activities to do inside Little Haiti and Vice City, like, you know, packages or anything like that, do that before you finish the Cuban gang storyline, because then the Haitians will be permanently hostile to you. Thoughts on iDubbbz's content cops? I don't even know what that is, though. Can you explain to me what that is? Was that a YouTuber? I think I've heard it before, but... I'm just sorry, I just try to keep track of names. There's just so many people to, Pro, can you find more stories? I find them interesting. Oh, let me get back up here. Okay, are you religious? No, I'm an agnostic. Well, Joey did beat everyone up in the Sopranos. I will, I'll tell a quick story, though, and the story is kind of a moral lesson, too. It's a moral lesson of not getting walked over, and it's also a moral lesson that strict doesn't mean heartless. Basically, I've told this story before, for people that didn't hear it, but it's one of my best stories. This happened to me years ago in retail. And basically what happened was this, okay, and I'm gonna help somebody else sell after this, Hoovian. He did video on other people? Oh, well, I don't know then. I'll look up this channel afterwards, but, is being an agnostic and an atheist the same thing? No. An atheist doesn't believe in any kind of, afterlife or, you know, any kind of god or gods. An agnostic is just somebody who says, I don't know. That's just basically my whole view on religion is I don't know. I don't know the answers. I don't know, you know, I see every possibility, really. I'm pretty much open to any viewpoint, really. That's just my view on religion. The story that I was telling you, the story I was going to tell you guys, though. So, this story, this happened to me. This happened to me in retail years ago. And this probably like 2017, 2018 maybe it was. Basically what happened is the pharmacy department, because I used to work in a retail in a store, right? We had a pharmacy department. The pharmacy, I didn't like them. Some of the people in pharmacy were nice, but some of the other pharmacy people I didn't like. Now the nicer people in pharmacy were the technicians, but the more nastier people were like the pharmacist and the The pharmacist and the and some of the I think the assistant to the pharmacist, I don't know what that's called, but basically the reason I had a problem with them personally is because when I was, when I finished all my tasks, right, I didn't have anything left to do. I would come over to the pharmacy and help them. I had no obligation to come over and help them, none whatsoever. That was not part of my employment. That was not in my job description. But I came over and I helped them. And, years later, I realized they were taking advantage of me. But I came over and I helped them at the goodness of my own heart. And what I did was I did throwbacks for them a lot of times. Which, throwbacks, basically, that's like people would go to the pharmacy because they would buy, like, other things. So they would buy things besides, like, their prescription. They'd buy things from the store, and they would check out their prescription and the item to the pharmacy. And they might say, oh, I don't want this anymore. And then the pharmacy would just take that, and they would, like, have baskets and baskets of, like, this, stock that has to go back on the floor that would just build up. And I would clean that all up for them. I would put it all back on the shelves. And I was under no obligation to do this. This was pharmacy's job. And what happened is, every single, when I would go down to the break room, because I stopped going down to the break room, the reason I stopped going to the break room is because when I went to the break room, it was like a big mess. Like, it was just like a giant mess. Like, there was like half-eaten pizza slices on the floor. There was crumbs all over the table. There was like food that wasn't even finished. Like, just like a sandwich bitten and like left on the table. Sometimes there was just food on the table with just no plate. The microwave was an absolute mess. It was stains all over the place. Something blew up in the microwave. Nobody cleaned it out. They didn't even take the garbage out. The garbage was just build up and build up. It was like disgusting. I seen bugs in there. It was disgusting. And what happened was, you talk to the pharmacy, and these are the pharmacists who were doing this. Like, this is like somebody who, like, this is somebody who goes to some fancy school to become a pharmacist, who eats like this. Like, they eat like a child. Like, even most kids are even more clean than them. And so you'd think that somebody that has that much education to become a pharmacist, you'd think somebody like that would have more manners. But I try to talk to pharmacy about this. And do you know what pharmacy would say? And I wasn't the only one who would complain about it. You know what pharmacy would say? They would say that is not our department. That is not our department. So literally, I don't care if it's not your department or not. If you eat, you clean up after your own food. Somebody shouldn't have to clean up after your own meal. If you drop something on the floor, you clean it up. I don't care if you're the pharmacist or not. You can't just say that's not my department. And so they would say, and I was getting very frustrated. And like one time when I went to the break room to eat, like, I left my bag there. So I left my bag on the table, like my lunch bag. And literally, and what happened was, it was horrible. I'll never forget this. I sat down to eat in the break room, and like, I looked at my legs, and I had like ants crawling over my legs, and I was like, oh my god, like, I freaked out, like, I jumped up, and then I looked at my lunch bag. There was ants all over inside my lunch. My lunch was ruined. I didn't bring my card or anything, so I had to go without eating for that day. And so it just bothered me so much. And what happened was, I talked to my manager, and I said to my manager, I'm like, can I please eat in the office right now? I promise I'll clean up afterwards, because the office was always clean. And my manager's like, yeah, sure, you can eat in the office. So I always ate in the office, and I always cleaned up. I kept my promise. I never made a mess. And what ended up happening is, one day, I get called to the back of pharmacy, right? I get called to the back of pharmacy, and thought that was kind of strange, because usually they don't call me back there. I just go back there on my own. And so I get called to the back of pharmacy, right? And when I get back there, I see this, like, orange, like, stain, like, on the floor, this orange goo. And I'm like, what happened? And the pharmacist basically tells me, oh, a customer cleaned it up. Clean it up right now, Patrick. And at that point, I just lost it. Because it was like, I had people constantly rolling all over me, constantly taking advantage of me and stuff like that. And do you know what I actually told them in the pharmacy? I said, that's not my department, like they would say. When they would say, that's not my department, I would say, that's not my department, you clean it up. I don't get paid enough for this. I get paid a little bit of a minimum wage. I'm not cleaning up somebody else's vomit. You do it. I'm not your cleaner. And I walked away, and what ended up happening is I went back to the front of the store, and my supervisor, she walks up to me, and she just asks me, why did they call you to the back of pharmacy? Now, about my supervisor, she was one of the best supervisors that I had. I had some really bad supervisors, but this supervisor was really good. And she was very strict. She was. If you didn't get your tasks done, she would get on your case. But the thing about that is she was a hard worker, and she was caring. So even though she was strict, she was a bit pushy at times. When you needed her, she had your back. And that's what I learned is strict does not mean heartless. And so there's a difference between being strict and being, nasty. Now, what happened was I told my strict supervisor, I told her that the pharmacy wanted me to clean up vomit in the back, and I didn't do it. And you know what she said? She said to me, they wanted you to do what? That's what she said. And, she went to the back to the back of the store, and I heard her from like halfway across the store. I heard her screaming, just screaming at the top of the pharmacy that they wanted me to clean up vomit. And what happened was they never called me to pharmacy again to help after that. So that was basically my story with that. And that story has basically there's two moral lessons to that story. The first moral lesson is don't get taken advantage of. Don't let people walk all over you. You do what you you know, if you want to help somebody, go ahead, but don't let people take advantage of you, because they were taking advantage of me all the time. And when I asked them for help, you know, cleaning up the break room, they refused. So that was that. And then the second moral lesson is that just because somebody is strict doesn't mean that they're heartless. So that's about that. But yeah, but I thought they deserved it, because when my supervisor went off, she could really yell at somebody when she went off, and I felt that they really deserved that yelling. They really deserved it. So that was I'll play Bully later this year. That was in retail. Yes, she was WRV. I did thank her later on for that, but I also did help her though. I helped out my supervisor because her English wasn't the best. So she knew how to speak like basic English and you could understand it, but there's things that she didn't understand also at times. And but she had a good heart, and she would always back her, you know, employees up, even though she was very strict. When I finished all my tasks, she let me do what I wanted. So, you know, I could just sit on my phone when I was done with all my tasks. I didn't help pharmacy ever again. But if you didn't do your task, you know, she would get on your case. What I helped her out, you know, a year after I quit, though, a year or two after I quit, what happened was, this is like 2020, maybe early 2021, is she was looking for a home to buy, because her husband had passed away. Unfortunately, it was really sad. Her husband was sick, and she wanted to move into a smaller house because she didn't want the big house anymore. And so she told me that she was looking for a new house, and I told her I could try to help you find a new house. You know, what are you trying to look for specifically? And she told me she's looking for like a 2-bedroom house, possibly an apartment, but she would prefer a house. And, you know, she told me the neighborhoods that she would like the house in. She told me like how old she wanted the house to be, and so I would go on Zillow and I would just look up specific houses for her, like, you know, specific houses like this type, like 2 bedrooms, the ones that she wanted, like fence and stuff, and I would like send it to her, and I would say like, hey, is this the type of house that you want? And she's like, no, like it has to be this one. And so I would like go back and forth, and eventually I found her a house, and she actually did buy the house that I sent her. So one of the houses that I sent her, she actually did end up buying. So I did help her with that a year and a half later. But she was actually very surprised that I reached out to her after like after quitting, because she said that most people after they quit, they never talk to their, you know, coworkers again. But I still talk to some of my coworkers. You know, I still talk to a few of them. So that was what nationality is she? Oh, she was from India. Are you a political man? I stay away from politics, especially on streams. Honestly, politics gets me a bit annoyed at times, because it's like, you know, everybody has something to argue about, and I just personally like to stay out of it. That's just it. Hey, personal, how's it going, buddy? Really wild. Hello, Alize. How are you, man? Thank you for the super chat. I hope GTA will represent a Viet gang one day. They did. They had the Da Nang boys in GTA San Andreas. That's a Vietnamese gang. Thank you, Turkish Outlaw. But what I'll say about the what else will I say? Oh yeah. So I talked to one of my other supervisors. He was a nice guy too. He had a lot of patience, and what happened is he quit, and I found out he quit like half a year ago. And I asked him, I said, like, you know, what happened exactly? Well, you know, why did you quit? And he told me that there was this one worker that was annoying him. The guy that he's specifically talking about, this isn't the narcissist. This, for people who have heard me talk about the narcissist before, this is somebody else. But basically, there was this one coworker that I had where what he would do, this is referencing politics, is what he would do is he would talk. And I'm saying he would talk a lot. And the thing about that is that I don't know how to describe it, but he was that type of guy where when he would start talking, he would just not stop talking. Like, he would just keep going on and on and on and on and on. And the thing is, you didn't want to cut him off, because if you cut him off, he'd get annoyed with you. So it was like that type of guy that would just keep talking and talking. He wasn't like really necessarily a nasty guy, but he would just keep talking and talking, and it was just getting frustrating. And the thing about that is that when we were, I didn't like it when he was a cashier. When he was back, when I was, because sometimes I would be doing the cashier and he would be a backup cashier, or he would actually be the main cashier while I was doing other things in the store. And the reason I didn't like it when he was a cashier is because this guy would just endlessly talk with customer. He would just talk about ridiculous things, like, you know, customer would be like buying like a Snickers bar, for example, and he would be like, hey, did you know when Snickers was first made? It was made in this year, and it was made by this guy, and stuff like that. And I get it, he's trying to be nice to people, but he would just talk too much. He would just talk about pointless things, and what would happen is he would start, you know, very, very long conversations, and then a line would build up. It would get really long, and then what would happen is I would be across the store doing something. He'd call me up. He'd be like, help, I need backup on the register. I'd come over, ring up a bunch of people, then I'd go back across the store. I'd do like one or two things for like just a minute or two, and then he'd call me up again because he started a conversation with another customer. And so that's just why I personally didn't like him, because he just talked way too much. He wasn't rude or nasty, like I said, but he just didn't know how to stop. I don't know what that's called. I know there's like a personality for that specifically, but it's that would he used to work for Geico, and he said he got fired from Geico, and I asked him once, what did you get fired from Geico for? And he said, I got fired for being too nice. I'm like, he got fired for being too nice. I was thinking to myself, he probably got fired because he talked too much there too. That's probably what happened. But anyways, about that coworker. So I was talking to my supervisor, right? And this story I didn't tell before. I never told this story before. So I was talking to my supervisor, and he told me he quit like half a year ago. So he was still there, and he told me that guy was annoying him, and he told me that guy would just keep talking and talking and talking endlessly. And if you want to know how annoying it could get, there would be basically when I was working like late night shifts. So I would be working unloading like this huge heavy truck at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And do you know what this guy would do? He would be there, and he would he would either have it on a cart, or he would have it in his pocket. And what he would do is he would be listening to the late night comedians like Jimmy Kimmel, like, you know, those people, and he would be playing that on speaker. Like, he was not like he didn't have headphones or anything. Like, he would just play that, and I would have to hear like Jimmy Kimmel and those idiots like all night long, and I just didn't want to listen to it. And then the worst part is that when he was done watching Jimmy Kimmel, he would start talking to us about things that Jimmy Kimmel said and stuff. Like, it's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. I don't like these people. I don't listen to these late night comedians. They're annoying. But it was just that they were just he would just constantly keep blasting that, and so that's how annoying he would get. Like I said, he wasn't rude, but he would get really annoying with like with some of this stuff. And what happened was my supervisor told me that he was really annoying the hell out of him one day, just like talking a bunch of nonsense to him, and he wouldn't stop. And he said that then after that there was a customer that was because basically my supervisor was trying to tell him tasks that he had to do, and he was just wasting his time with a bunch of nonsense. And then there was a customer that basically was just being rude to him over something. I think it was the photo machine or something like that, and the customer was just telling the supervisor, like, you know, help me with this right now. It's like, I'm going to complain to your manager right now, and this. And basically at that point, he looked at the customer, and he just said to the customer, you know what? I'm done. Have it your way. I quit. And the customer was just like this. Like, the customer was just shocked that he said that, so he just walked out. And the manager tried to call him, but he didn't pick up, and that was it. So basically, he said he was dealing with this guy, annoying him all day, and then a rude customer basically just caused him to snap, and he just said, I'm done. And this guy had a lot of patience. I knew this guy for years. This guy had a lot of patience. So whatever happened that day, whatever was annoying him that day, this had to be like 110% whatever this was annoying him. Because this guy that quit that I knew, he had a lot of patience. He could put up with a lot of stuff. So whatever that was, that really had to have been really bad annoyance that day for him to quit. So that's that. Lost that sponsor? What sponsor? Let me see. Let me look up the comments. I missed a few comments. I'm sorry, everyone. Sometimes when I get into my stories, I talk a bit. I'll never forget some controversial replies to some of the comments criticizing woke stuff in my entertainment on your channel. I don't care, in my opinion. Well, it's I just personally, my viewpoint, Mr. Waifus, I just tend to stay away from the political stuff because I just don't want to, you know, I just don't want to get into it with people because people just start arguing, and I just personally stay away from it. That's my viewpoint on it. And late night talk shows suck nowadays. Yeah, you know, the only guy that I could tolerate on the late I didn't like most of the late night talk show hosts. I didn't like most of them. There was only one of them that I could tolerate. What was the guy's name that I could tolerate? Conan. I think Conan was the guy's name. Conan, I think, was the only guy that I could actually watch. And it was because Conan would typically just focus on just making people laugh. That's what he would focus on. He would stay away from the political drama and all the other stuff, and he would just focus on making people laugh. And that's just what I liked about Conan. He typically stayed away from a lot of the nonsense that the other late night comedians did. So that's so that was and I didn't even watch Conan a lot. That was the only guy that I could actually stomach watching. Like the other guys, I personally got really annoyed by them. Like Jimmy Kimmel, I can't stand him. I think he's an entitled idiot. But it's like a lot of the other guys I just couldn't stand watching. Okay, I'll see you, Juan. Take care, man. Or not Juan, John 8. I'm sorry, I read your name wrong. Do you think that both parties suck because they don't help the people? Do you agree with me, Pro? Yeah, I would. I would say both parties suck. You know, I'll just this is the only comment that I will make on politics. I'll just make one small comment here on this. Is that I can't stand both parties specifically, because it's just that the problem with it is that the way that Americans look at politics, it's more like a sport, where it's like you have to be on board with whatever your team says 100% of the time. It's like you can't ever form your own opinion. You can't say, look, I agree with some of these ideas and some of these ideas from both parties, but no, you have to be like 100% on board with whatever party says, and if you don't do that, they basically see you as like not being like a supporter of the party, whatever that party is, whether it's, you know, left or right. What I will say is like, I'll tell you something. There's really toxic stuff in both parties. I've seen it personally in New York, where I grew up, and I've seen really toxic political stuff. I'll give you a perfect example, like, of just toxicity on both sides. Like, if you go to New York City, where I'm from, New York City, right? And if you go to New York City and you tell very left-leaning New Yorkers, you tell them, hey, I agree with 95% of what you guys are saying. I agree with most of your policies here in New York, but I disagree with gun control. If you say that, they'll tell you, get the hell out of here. Even if you agree with 95% of their policies, if you disagree with just one thing like that, they'll tell you, get the hell out of here. And the exact same thing will happen in like a state like Texas. If you go to a state like Texas, where it's the opposite political viewpoint, and you go to Texas and you tell them, like, hey, I agree with 95% of what you guys are saying. I agree with small government, low taxes, but I think that gay people should have the right to get married, they'll tell you, get the hell out of here too. So it's like you can't, even if you agree with like 95% of what one party is saying, you can't have like your own viewpoint. It's like they'll just basically tell you, get the hell out of here, no matter what, even if you just disagree with just 5% of what they're saying. So it's like you have to be 100% on board with everything, and I personally think that's ridiculous and disgusting. And that's why I tend to stay away from politics. It's just that. Pro, do you have a lot of patience? Yes, I do. It's very rarely will you see me get angry. Very rarely. It takes a lot to get me upset. But it's I do have a lot of patience. Yes. If you had to choose one, would you rather spend an entire day with Jimmy Kimmel or James Corden? I don't know. They both really suck. Honestly, I think I'd rather spend a day with Jimmy Kimmel than James Corden, because James Corden is an even bigger scumbag than Jimmy Kimmel. James Corden is that type of guy who he went to a restaurant and he was harassing waiters and just being really nasty to them. So like, what I say is, don't ever meet your heroes, because like these people in private are not the type of people that you see when you watch TV. Would you have Reddit Online fully supported with great content, with the drawback being that GTA 6 isn't released for another 3 to 4 years? Honestly, I know this might piss some people off with me saying this, but if we could get 3 to 4 years of Red Dead content, and I mean good Red Dead content, like good ones, like something like Frontiers Pursuits, like heists, customizable houses, like if you could build a house, like a cabin and stuff like that in Red Dead, if they actually added stuff like that for like the next 3 to 4 years, I would be fine with a GTA 6 delay, but only if the Red Dead content for 3 to 4 years was good. Only if it was good. But the thing about it is, you don't even need a delay. The amount of money that Rockstar has, they could easily easily support Red Dead Online, make big updates for that game, and develop GTA 6. The problem is they're cheap. They don't want to hire more people. So Rockstar has plenty of money that they could still do both. So like I appreciate your super chat, Ryan, and I agree with what you're saying. But the point that I'm making is that a lot of times I hear people defending Rockstar, and they'll say, oh, you know, Rockstar has to focus on GTA 6. That's why they're abandoning Red Dead Online. But this is I would accept that viewpoint if this was like a small company. But this is, you know, a multi-billion-dollar company with billions of dollars. You know, you can't tell me that they can't focus on, like, you know, GTA 6 and Red Dead. So that, I'm not saying that you're saying that, Ryan. Well, that's just, I hear a lot of people personally saying that oh, they have to focus on, you know, GTA 6, but they don't realize that Rockstar's billions of dollars. It's like you're telling me they can't hire a few more developers to develop Red Dead Online. So that's Hi I wouldn't want to meet you in real life. No offense. That's perfectly fine, Mr. Waifu. Thank you for the super chat. I understand, and I am also, you know, I don't typically, when I meet people in real life, though, I don't tell them that I'm a YouTuber. You know, when people, you know, people, I only tell people maybe I'm a YouTuber if, you know, I get to know them a little bit better and stuff like that. But, you know, when people, you know, people ask me typically, you know, what I do for a living, I tell them that I run a rental property and I do stocks, which isn't real, which, that's not necessarily me lying. That's what I do. I just didn't tell them that I'm just a YouTuber also. But but if they, you know, if they get a little pushy, I'll tell them that I do content creation, or I'm self-employed. That's what I'll say. So that's depends on their profit margins. But Alvinor, they have plenty of money. I appreciate the super chat. Rockstar's plenty of money. They could easily finish Red Dead Online. And look, Rockstar could just make one final good DLC for Red Dead Online. That's all they gotta do. Just make one final good DLC for the game. That's it. Yes, I might make a DMZ guide. I might do that. Hey, Prof, would love to help. Can you add, Soren, Vox? I could try to add you, Simona. Thank you for the super chat. But I'll just have to check if there's a spot on my friends list, because I would just have to figure out, who I'm gonna remove. I usually remove people that are like, a year offline. Realistically, do you think Afghanistan could ever be a safe place to stop constantly being at war? I think that the violence in Afghanistan could have been reduced, and I think a lot of I think the Taliban could have been shrunk to what they are right now. I don't think they could have ever been truly defeated, but I think they could have been severely shrunk to what they are. But the U.S. government messed up on that. But I don't really want to get into that personally. See here. Yes, I would support a a third party in American politics. I would be fine with that. What is your best griefer story? Let me tell you. I'll tell you in a moment here. Let me just look at some of the other comments. I think I missed a few more. Okay, okay, so you're asking me about, my best griefer story. So what, I told this story before, but this is my best one, so I'll just tell it again. But basically what happened was, a few years ago, I had this guy that would join my sessions over and over and over again, and when we weren't able to sell in invite-only sessions. So I'd have this guy that would join my sessions, right? And the guy would do orbital cannon glitches. That's all he would basically do. He would just join the session, and he would do get in the orbital cannon, and just blow you up, leave, rejoin, blow you up. And he'd do this when you were transporting cargo. He didn't care. And so this guy, the amount of, this guy would follow me lobby to lobby to lobby. It was ridiculous. Pretty much harassment at this point. And the ridiculous thing is, when I went inside my business or something like that, he would message me like, "You scared? Come out." When he's just sitting on an orbital cannon. It's like, how can you say that to somebody when you're the one sitting in a facility on orbital cannon? But anyways, what happened was, one time this guy joined my stream lobby, like a few years ago, right? And I see this guy in the lobby, so like when I pull up the players list, I see the guy, I see he's in the lobby. And what he hasn't connected in the lobby. He's connecting in, but I still see him in the players list. The reason he hasn't connected in is because the cloud screen glitched. The cloud screen was glitching out, and so he was stuck just looking at the clouds. And so what happened was, I knew that I had bought myself some time, because I didn't know because if I just joined a new lobby, probably he'd follow me there and probably connect really quickly. So I figured my best bet was just to play in that lobby and hope he doesn't connect. And so what happened was, I sat there for 2 hours in that lobby, 2 hours playing, and I was helping people sell their businesses, knowing that the guy was in the clouds, and I was just checking repeatedly. I was just checking the map, making sure the guy wasn't, connected in, that he didn't spawn in his facility. And basically what happened was 2 hours later, right? 2 hours later, this is right after the stream started, 2 hours, so the stream's been going for like 2 hours. He's been in the cloud screen for 2 hours. 2 hours is sitting there, waiting to connect into my lobby. And then 2 hours later passes, he finally connects in the lobby. I see him in the facility. Do you know what I do? The second I see him in the facility, I immediately, activate off the radar, and I drive into, the convenience store, which they can't orbital cannon you inside there. And what I do is, I tell everybody that's watching my stream, I say to them, good stream, guys, it was a lot of fun, we're gonna wrap it up here today, and, like, let's end the stream right now. And so I tell everybody to leave the lobby, we'll play, next time. And so that's it, I just ended the stream after I helped the last person sell there, and the guy was just getting really annoyed. And so I left. We just left. It was thankfully when the guy connected in, I wasn't in the middle of selling somebody, so I was lucky on that. But the guy was sitting there for 2 hours in the cloud screen. So imagine what kind of a loser this guy is. Imagine that he sits in the cloud screen for 2 hours waiting to orbital cannon me. Like, what the hell? Seriously? Who does something like this? But he was sitting there for 2 hours waiting to orbital cannon me, and then when he finally got in the lobby, I basically said, okay, that's it, guys, let's end the stream, and I just left the lobby. And so I wasted 2 hours of his time. He sat there for 2 hours trying to orbital cannon me, and then when he finally gets in, he wasn't able to do anything. And do you know what ended up happening after that? My messages were public, because I didn't have private messages back then, and so people could message me anytime they wanted. And so this guy messaged me, and I'm not going to say what he said, but he said some really toxic things in those messages. He cursed at me. He was pissed, I could tell. Though what he cursed at me, he said some nasty things. You know what I did at that point? The story gets even better. I reported the messages. So everything that he said in those messages, I reported it. And within like 5 minutes of me reporting it, Sony deleted all his messages. Because Sony, unlike Rockstar, is really quick and takes that seriously when somebody's harassing you. And so I reported all of it, Sony deleted all of it, and he got banned for like a week. And what happened, he wasn't able to play PlayStation for a week. And so what happens is, this guy never messaged me again. I had my public messaging on for a few more months after that. He never messaged me again after that, because he knew what was going to happen. So that was it. So not only did I waste his time by making him sit in the clouds for 2 hours, well, it was Rockstar's terrible servers, but one thing Rockstar's terrible servers actually did good for once, kept the griefer out. Wasted his time for 2 hours, and then I got him banned for a week. And it was his own fault. He's the one who sent me the message. So it was that. So I normally don't take pleasure in pissing somebody off, but that was one of the few times in my life that I actually really enjoyed pissing somebody off. I actually really did enjoy it. I was happy that I made him pissed off, and I was happy that I got him banned for a week. So that was like one of the few times I actually took pleasure in really pissing somebody off. I never really do that, but this guy was like a troublemaker. All he would do is he would just grief, join lobbies, just harass people repeatedly. When did you make your messages friends only? Like May of 2020, April of 2020, like around there. It was like you should have seen some of the messages that I got. Like, back in the day, some of the messages that I got on PlayStation were like really disgusting. Like, I would have horrible messages sent to me by people. And the thing about it is, I got added into a group chat with like griefers once. It was like a 30 person group chat. And do you know what they did? The group chat that I was added to, the picture of the group chat, they had a picture of my face in that group chat, and they were just like messing up with my face and like Photoshop and stuff like that, and they were just adding me to that group chat and just talking crap. And whenever I would leave that group chat, they would just add me right back to the group chat, and they're like, stay here, and it was just so toxic. And at that point, I basically said, you know what, I'm making my messages private so these idiots can't add me to any more group chats, because I'll get added to those griefer group chats and they would just send pictures of me and just make fun of me and just stuff like that. And I was just like, I'm making my messages private at this point. This is ridiculous. I don't even know what I did to these people. I don't know what their problem is. I'm not a, I don't start drama. I'm not a toxic guy. I don't harass people. I don't know, why these people had such a problem with me personally. It's probably just for attention. But it was just disgusting. All I do on this game is I just help people. I just help people on this game. That's all I pretty much do. Is help people sell their businesses and make guides. That's all I do on GTA Online. I don't go fighting people. I used to do PvP more back in the day, but I don't really do it much anymore. So I don't know why people harass me so much sometimes. I had a guy message me one time that he was threatening to kill me. I reported that message too, but it was yeah. I don't know what's wrong with people sometimes. Have you ever been in an encounter with a crazy fan? No. Can I speak any Polish? Tak, umiem gadać po polsku. Yes, I know how to speak Polish. Dimitri takes pleasure in pissing people off. Not only that, he takes pleasure in betraying people. Probably in like 15 or 20 minutes. I will tell you guys like a minute before when I'm ready to do the contract. So it's, I'll help somebody with their contract. But whoever I help with their contract, it's gonna be whoever invites me first, because I know so many people want help with contracts, and I want to be fair to everyone. So it's whoever invites me first, I'll help. Have you ever been asked for a picture in public? No, never. I only got recognized 2 times in public before. Why do people send you those messed up messages? I wish I knew. It's you. If you guys have seen some of the messages, like even if I did like a video, right? If I did a YouTube video, just like showing some of the messages that I got, that video will probably get striked because of just how horrible some of the things that people say to me. You know, the worst message I've ever gotten on PlayStation was a guy who threatened to kill me, but it was probably just some dumb kid. But the worst message that I have gotten, like the nastiest message on GTA, is there was this one guy who messaged me something. I'm not gonna say what was in that message. I think you guys can get the idea by what I'm gonna say here. But I'm a Polish American, for people that don't know, and this guy, what he said to me in a message, he said it on the GTA phone. He said something about Polish people and World War II, and that comment that he said, that was the most disgusting, evil comment that I've probably ever seen. That was just such a horrible, horrible comment. And I was just thinking to myself, what a horrible, horrible human being to say something like that. It was a really, really horrible thing. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say what he said, but it was just really, really horrible. That's just what I'll say. And what surprised me was that it didn't get blocked out by Rockstar's filter when you text people stuff. But I had no way of reporting it, because you can't report the messages on your phone in GTA. And maybe later tonight will be the next freelancer part. Okay, here we go. Let's get over this last drop. Are you a dual citizen, Pro? Yes, I have citizenship in Poland as well. Pro only plays 2 games. Well, on my streams, but I play a lot of games on my playthroughs. But I'll do streams. I might start doing a DMZ stream on Modern Warfare. I might start doing that. Have you been upset by a comment or something that you know, somebody has said to you? One time I got a bit upset at there was this guy that I knew that was like, he was a friend of my friend, but basically what happened was he talked about he talked about how people that don't go to college are failures. That's basically what he was talking about. And that comment was pissing me off already, because I can't stand that type of entitled mindset. To be fair, he didn't go to college himself, but he was just basically saying that if you don't go to college, that you're going to be a failure, which isn't, you know, it's not, that's not true. But basically what happened is I told him, you know, there's people that don't go to college but are very successful, and he says to me, oh yeah, name me someone. And I said to him, well, I'm not trying to show off, but me, like, I mean, I went to college, yes, and I got a bachelor's degree, sure, but what I do with YouTube, my YouTube career has zero to do with college. So if I didn't go to college, I would still be just as successful as I am now. And what he ended up doing is he ended up telling me that what you do is not a real job. He started saying that to me. He's like, what you do is not a real... I'm like, what do you mean it's not a real job? He's like, you don't do any real work. You just sit there and play video games. That's basically what he says. It's not a real job. And like, I worked really hard on my channel to get where I am, and I was just getting a bit annoyed by that argument that I got with this guy. It was my friend in real life, his friend, and it was just that because like he was just saying like, you know, what you don't do isn't work. And I'm like, have you not seen my lore videos? Like, you know, those take me like a month to make. You don't think that's work? Like, you know, getting all that footage together, writing that massive script, analyzing all these characters, stuff like that. And he's like, no, you just play video games and you sit in front of a computer. And I said to him, then according to your logic, people that work in the office and just sit in the computer, that they didn't, that's not a real job too, because they're sitting in front of the computer. And he's like, no, that is a real job. I was like, then how's that different than what I do? And he's like, because they went to college. I'm like, what the hell is that? What difference does that make? That was just a dumb thing. And I said to him, so then are actors, people who act, is that not a job too? Because they're just standing in front of a camera and just acting. And then he says no, because they have to get costumes together and they have to act and they have to record their lines in their script. And I said to him, like, what the hell? Like, I have to record my lines and my script when I make, like, a lore video. I have to get that together, and I have to make costumes. Like, have you not seen my playthroughs? Like, you know how many costumes I have? Like, my closet is, like, literally, people joke about how big my closet is. My closet is actually massive. Like, have you seen the amount of costumes I have in my closet because of all the different playthroughs I make? It's ridiculous. So, that's just what I was just, that's just what it was. But, you know, my friend ended up apologizing to me later on for what his friend said, but it was just, I was trying not to get pissed off, but it was just one thing that I got a bit annoyed, because he wasn't the first person to do that to me, by the way. There was people that I know in real life, and I don't even bring it up. I don't bring up to them that I'm a YouTuber. They just know, but they tell me like, oh, what you do is not a real job. It's not a real living. It's like, I've worked really hard to get where I am. Like, I worked 6 years in retail, and I used to work like night shifts in retail, like unloading this huge heavy truck all night long. And you know, I'd be outside whether it was freezing or whether it was super hot. So it was, and you know, I worked my way up for YouTube for years to get to where I am. So it wasn't that I just, you know, out of nowhere. It was just that my YouTube channel just spawned like 1 million subscribers. That didn't happen. It's like I worked here, and it's just, you know, it built up over time. People liked my content and subscribed to me, and that's how it's you know, that's where I got to where I am. Sure, you know, YouTube is much easier than you know, unloading a huge heavy truck. I don't deny that, but it's like, I still have to put a lot of work into it and editing and making projects and videos. And so I just never personally like that when people tell me that I don't do any work and I just sit and play video games. And you know, what I started basically doing is, when people tell me from now on that what you do isn't a job, you just play video games, you know what I say to them? I say to them, then why don't you do it? That's what I started saying at this point now. Because if I could just sit down and play video games, I'd do that for work, wouldn't you guys? But that's not what I do. I don't just sit down and play video games and get paid. That's not it. You know, I do streams, sure. We're having fun right now. People donate to me. But the very bulk of my money, most of my money, the money that I make on YouTube, it comes from lore videos. Lore videos are where I get, like, I'd say at least 80% of my income now is the lore videos that I make. That's the most of it. Some of it I get, my playthroughs do help a lot, but my playthroughs are like content that I have in between. But those lore videos, I put a lot of work into them. I edit them. Like, you guys have seen the Brad lore video that I did. The Brad lore video is like 2 hours long. It took me over a month to make that. That was not an easy project to make. And so it was, and then I had the other video, what was it, the Floyd and Deborah video. The Floyd and Deborah video, that was not an easy video to make. So it's like, I put a lot of work into these videos, and you know, the lore videos are really good. Thank you, man. Is it hard trying to be an influencer and having time for friends and family? Yeah. The thing about this is the good thing about, you know, the good thing about doing YouTube is that I can work on my own schedule. That's the good thing about YouTube. But the downside I would say about working on YouTube, this is the downside of this, is that when you go to a job, like, you know, a job that's like, you know, an hour, you go to a job on a specific schedule. You know, you have work from this time to this time, and you're done. On YouTube, for example, you know, projects could like last for like weeks that you're making, and the thing about that is that the algorithm stresses a lot of YouTubers out. Like, a lot of YouTubers get burnt out from the algorithm, because if you don't upload a video every single day, what happens is your channel is less likely to get recommended, and so that's why YouTubers rush to get stuff out really quickly, like every day. And so what I'll tell you guys, do you know what the hardest part about YouTube is? You know what the hardest thing about it is? What I'll tell you about it? It's not the editing. It's not the editing. It's not the recording. It's not even making the thumbnail. You know what the hardest part about doing YouTube videos is? Coming up with a video. That is the hardest part. Like, specific, like, coming up with a video, like, that those top 5 videos that I did, like, people joke about it, but I made a top 5 for pretty much everything on GT Online. Like, I made, like, so many top 5 videos, like, what, 50 or 60, 70 top 5 videos? Like, it's, like, so many top 5 videos. But that was not, like, easy to make. And, like, some days, like, I would be spending hours and hours just trying to think of, like, what kind of top 5 can I make? And I would just be thinking hours and hours. And what I would do is I would just drive around the map. I would drive around the map, and I would look at things and stuff like that. And I would, like, look at vehicles and stuff, and I would basically be thinking, like, what's the top 5 that I haven't done yet that I can do? And so that's sometimes the hardest part, is coming up with a video idea. Because when you come up with a video idea, at least when you come up with a video idea, at least you have an idea, and you can kind of make, like, an outline of what you want to make at that point. You have an idea, a rough idea of what you're going to do in that video. But if you don't have an idea, you have nowhere to start. And that's what I say is the hardest thing about YouTube, is coming up with a video idea. That's the hardest part. Thank you, Suspect13. Thank you for sponsoring my channel, man. Pro literally has the boss from Saints Row's closest in real life. Well, thank you, Mr. Waifu. It's hard to balance work and family time, then? Sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, sometimes I have a specific day to edit a project. And, like, I want to get a project done that day, and so I don't always get the chance to, you know, spend time with my family or something like that. But I've been trying to make more time to spend with my family. I don't live with my family right now, but when I do visit my family, like, a few times a year, and then when I visit them, I'm there for, like, a month. So that's when I get the chance to spend time with them. I do call my parents a lot, though, but... What was the toughest lore video to make? Toughest lore video? That was easy. Toughest lore video to make was the Bismarck video. That was the toughest lore video to make. What North Yankton looks like in real life, that was the hardest lore video that I've ever made, that one. And the reason that was so hard to make was because it was like a 6-hour drive for me to get to Bismarck. And on top of that, it was that I rented out a hotel in the city, and I was driving around the city, recording different parts of it, had to put it all together. So yeah, Bismarck, I would say, the Bismarck video is the hardest video. I went to Bismarck, North Dakota in a YouTube video, and that was the hardest, I would say that was the hardest video that I made. No, it's not a German town, it's in North Dakota. The reason it's called Bismarck is because a lot of German Americans live there. What's for dinner, bro? Today for dinner, I think I'm gonna cook some fish today for dinner, because I've had nothing but, like, chicken and beef within the last 2 weeks, so I think I'm just gonna have, fish for dinner today. YouTube is not a real job, it's not hating. Well, here's the thing, who decides what's a real job and what's not? That's the thing about that. Because I run a rental property too, you know, that, and some people would say that being a landlord is not a real job, but I consider that a job, because being a landlord comes with responsibilities. You have to manage the property, you have to help your tenants out, you have to fix things around the property too. So it's like, the question is, who decides what's a real job and what's not? I think that, in my personal viewpoint, is how somebody makes their money, I think, is personally irrelevant, as long as they're not committing any crimes. As long as they're not committing any crimes, they're not scamming somebody, and they're not taking advantage of somebody, then I don't think it's relevant, really, how somebody makes their money personally. You know, if somebody makes their money through rental properties or a YouTube channel or that, you know, who's who's to judge on that? Like I said, as long as they're not hurting anybody, breaking any laws, or scamming anybody, then, you know, I don't think it's really right to decide to judge people on how they make their money, personally. Because money is money, right? So that's it. So, you know, you make a living, you pay your bills. Do you watch WWE? I used to back in the day. What's the stupidest crime that you've ever seen? I'd have to think about this. There was a guy once that he this, I didn't witness this personally, but I did a story about this. There was a guy who what he did was he broke out of prison. And I'm not joking when I say this. This guy actually broke out of prison. So he broke out of prison. This was a British guy. He broke out of prison in Britain. And the guy only had like two or 3 years left in his sentence, which I don't know why you wouldn't just sit that out, because now you're just making it worse for yourself. But basically, he broke out of prison, right? And he evaded law enforcement for like, I think, two or so years. The police couldn't find him. And do you know how the police finally caught him? He went to go buy Call of Duty Cold War the day it came out. That's how the police caught him. That's the stupidest thing that I've honestly heard of. You break out of prison, and you literally you go out in public to buy a video game that's coming out. That's how the guy got caught. That was it. So like, you go through all this effort to escape from prison, only to be caught to literally to that. And the guy, this guy was a dangerous prisoner too. This guy was like, I think this guy was in prison for like numerous assaults, so he beat a lot of people up. I don't think he killed anybody, but he was in prison for like beating up a bunch of people, so that's what he was in prison for. So he was a dangerous guy. But the thing is, the guy, I don't know how you can possibly be that smart to break out of prison, but be that stupid to go in public to buy a video game when your police are looking for you. So that's There was another guy that I remember who he got arrested. There was a guy who like basically what happened was there was a guy who he was working with some guy at his job, right? And what happened was the guy moved on to like another job or something like that, and then he sent his former coworker a friend request on Facebook, right? And his coworker denied the friend request. And so the guy got so angry that his coworker denied his friend request, he drove over to his former coworker's house and just broke down his door, and the coworker wasn't there. And I think he broke his window too. And all of that because he denied his friend request on Facebook. That was like an actual thing that happened. He got arrested for that. So that was like a, yeah. I feel bad for my school janitors. Thank you, Dark Soul. Thank you for the super chat. But here's the, what I'll say about it is that people will like judge people that like work in a lot of, you know, different jobs, but a job is a job, and he's making money. And so somebody that's working as a janitor is at least trying to make money and still trying to pay bills. Where, you know, you have people that will judge you have kids in like high school and like college that will judge somebody for being a janitor. It's like, what are they doing? They're living off of their parents' money, so they don't have any actual bills to pay. So that's what I'll say about that is people are just scumbags. A job is a job, and the janitor is working hard. Janitors are some of the hardest working people. I saw Mr. Waifu's super chat. What, TR? I don't understand your question. And yes, I heard about that, about DMZ. They had to clean up, Pirate, janitors are not, janitors are actually not responsible for that. If the crime is committed, the crime scene people are responsible for that, for cleaning that up. What advice would you give to somebody, to someone who is starting college? What advice would I give to you? Basically, best advice I can give you about college is don't think that college is necessary to be successful. If you go to college and you don't know what you want to do, don't think that you need to go to college to be successful, because a lot of people, a lot of people push this nonsense propaganda that like you need college to be successful or you're gonna be a failure, which is not necessarily true. There are certain things that you got to go to college for. If you want to be like a doctor or a lawyer, sure, but there's plenty of careers that you could do without going to college. So that's what are some of the countries that you would like to visit? I'd probably like to go back to Poland. I haven't been there in 13 years at this point. I probably would like to see what would I like to see? Poland, probably Japan. Japan is one country that I wanted always to see Hokkaido in Japan, that I wanted to see that region. Would you mind if a person just kept repeating a question to you were ignoring? Well, I don't really tend to ignore questions. The only time I won't answer questions when they're stupid questions. That's the only time I won't answer them. Hey, bro, 5 months, and what's your favorite Polish city? I don't know if I really have a favorite one. Maybe Krakow. Maybe that one because of the old castles. Thank you, 60. I hope you're doing well as well. Reddit Online streams are on Fridays. Thank you, King, for subscribing. I don't know, GTA Grinder. Are there any college kids that are bragging about student loans and at your rental? No. The thing about that is I probably wouldn't want college kids at a rental property of mine, and the reason is because I would worry about them trashing the house. Because if you find like a family that's like, they're not in college anymore, typically they're going to be much more respectful of your house than like a bunch of college kids. Because last thing you want is college kids to party at your house. That's the last thing that you want. What I'll say about it is, Do you know what the worst kind of tenant for me is? The worst tenant that would be is the worst type of tenant isn't even the tenant that doesn't pay their rent. It's not even the type of tenant that destroys property. And the reason, even though those tenants are really bad, if somebody doesn't pay rent or if somebody destroys property, you can go through the proper process depending on your state to kick them out of your house when you're renting it out. But the worst kind of tenant for me is not even the one that doesn't pay, but it's the one that does pay, but they actually cause a lot of drama. Because you can't kick somebody out for causing drama. And the reason I think that's the worst kind of tenant is because think about it this way. If you rent your house out to some guy, right? You think he's a nice guy, but in reality the guy's really nasty. He basically treats everyone like crap, curses at people constantly, has an attitude problem. If you rent out your property to somebody like that, and that person starts, like, you know, causing problems with the neighbors, like, nothing illegal or anything like that, but just, you know, being nasty to the neighbors, like cursing at the neighbors, like, you know, just getting into stupid arguments with the neighbors, like dumb things like that. Basically what's going to happen is all of the neighbors in that neighborhood are now going to hate you as the landlord because you rented out that property to that guy. And that's for me the worst thing, because then all the neighbors are going to get pissed off at you. Thankfully I haven't had an incident like that happen to me. But that was it. You know, I have one of my neighbors. You know, I have my neighbors' numbers also. So you know, they have never. Well, the neighbors for my rental, and they have not ever texted me about my tenants ever causing a problem or doing anything bad to their property, arguing with them or anything like that. So so thankfully, you know, I've had good tenants and haven't had any issues. Say Pro, what would be the best kind of tenant? The best kind of tenant would be a tenant who pays their rent and travels a lot. That would be the best kind of tenant, because they're paying their rent, but they're not at the house at the same time a lot of times too, so they're not using things in the house. Only one rental, but I want to get another one this year. Would you mind if a fan asked you for a picture? That's fine. I wouldn't mind that. What about tenants that stay quiet or talk too much? Well, I don't know about how staying quiet would be a bad thing, but talking too much, you know what, you mean like being annoying like that coworker that I was talking about earlier? Sure, that'd be annoying, but at least they're not being nasty. Worst class I took in high school? I'd have to think about that one. Okay, whoever invites me first to their contract, I will help with them, or a heist. The worst class that I had in high school. I had this one class with this one teacher. It wasn't even the class, it was more of the teacher. But I had this one class, it was in 8th grade. And I don't know what the name of the class was. I know people tell me in the comments before, but basically what the... Okay, WRV messaged me first. I'm gonna join him then. There was this one class that I had, right? And it was like a class where you would learn how to sew. They teach you how to sew. They would teach you how to cook a little bit too. They teach you how to look up like careers and stuff like that. That was the worst class that I had. And it wasn't the class itself that was bad. It was the teacher. But basically, here's what happened. In 8th grade, my family moved from New York City to Long Island, which Long Island is on the outskirts of the city. It's the suburbs outside the city. Now, what happened is, when we moved to that school, to that area, right? I didn't have my computer with me, right? I didn't have my computer with me right when we moved in. And so I explained this to the teacher. I didn't have access to a library. I didn't have a library card yet. I had no way to type anything up. And I was explaining this to my teacher that my computer is still at the old house. We still have to get it there. We haven't set everything up yet. And I was just hey Mark. But anyways, I was just sleeping.
You want to do my unit depository after this?
No, we can do it possibly later or on next stream. I'm just gonna get something to eat after this because I'm just really hungry. But
That's fine.
basically, what happened is I was explaining this to my teachers. I was telling my teacher that that I don't have access to a computer right now because she wanted me to type up a project for her. So like there was a paper that she wanted me to type up for her. And what happened was I still did the assignment even though I didn't have an access to a computer. Do you know what I did? I hand wrote the assignment. And I double spaced just like she wanted on it. I hand wrote it and I wrote it really nice. And I think she wanted like 2 pages of double spacing, but I wrote more than that. And I was very nice. My handwriting was very readable. My handwriting wasn't sloppy or anything. I handwrote the entire assignment. And I gave it to my teacher. I tried to give it to her. And she told me this assignment is incomplete. And I said to her, like, how is this assignment incomplete? And she says to me, you didn't type it up. You wrote it by hand. And I told her, because I don't have my computer, I explained this to you several times during the assignment. And she said to me, that's not an excuse. You have to type it up. I said, teacher, I do not have a computer with me. I did the work. This is harder for me. It's harder for me to write everything with a pencil than it is to type it up. I still did the assignment. I did everything that you asked of me to do. And I wrote the whole thing up for her. And my mom knows that I did the assignment. I showed my mom the assignment and everything before I handed it in. And I told her, here, take it. And she's like, I'm not going to take it. You didn't complete the assignment. And I said I did complete. She's like, no, you didn't complete the assignment. And you know what she does? She gives me a 0. So I literally spent the last few days writing that paper, and she gave me a 0 just because it wasn't typed up. Just because I hand wrote it. Because I didn't have access to it. She would not make an exception for me even though she knew that I had just moved. And that was the most unreasonable teacher that I ever had. That seriously just annoyed the hell out of me so much. And here's what I'll tell you guys, this. I have only had a 0 only 2 times ever in school. Only once in middle school and once in college. The college story why I had a 0 on an assignment once, I'll explain that to you guys. I told it before, but that wasn't my fault either, what happened. But those 2 times that I've had a 0, they've bothered me. So even though this was some stupid assignment that happened, this happened in 2007. Some stupid assignment from like 8th grade that happened in 2007. It still bothered me because I was always that guy that was organized. I'm organized. I get everything done on time, and so it bothered me so much that I had gotten a 0 for something like that. Like it just still to this day. I know some people might find it ridiculous that it still bothers me, but it just has. It's just to this day, and that was just it. And it was just that whole thing with the teacher. It was just the whole thing was just ridiculous. It's like I don't know, like why couldn't you make an exception for that? Like and the messed up thing is I had just gotten my computer like a week after that assignment was due, and so after that I could then type up whatever she wanted. Like even if she told me if you can't give it to me right now, like just take your paper and just type it up for me. I would have done that for her for like a week later. I would have still typed it up, but she just gave me a 0 for the assignment. And the ridiculous thing about it is the story gets even worse, because what she did was she called my mom. So she called my mom on the phone, and she told my mom that I didn't complete the assignment and I got a 0 for it. So that's the story gets even worse with that. And what happened? My mom wasn't pissed off at me. My mom like knew exactly what was going on. My mom was like, "What the hell? What kind of stupid teacher?" That was, but yeah, that was that. It's like how can you just be that unreasonable to somebody like that?
Good work.
Damn straight. This motherfucker fam.
Let me take the pickup on this, K. I got a couple of dudes gonna ride with me.
You got it, babe. You got it.
I'll stay on the line. Lose the cops.
Can my friend sell his business and help other people? His profile is he's a friendly and and a grinder. Sure, he can. Shimon plays. I don't have him added. I could try to add him, but like I said, there's just a lot of people that want to add me, so I could try to add your friend, but I would just have to get around to it. I would have to see if there's a spot on my friends list though. But I'll try my best to add your friend too, Shimon. And having some accidents here. But yeah, guys, that teacher was just, you know, a complete idiot. I hope that answered your question, Dark Soul. Thank you for the super chat. Let me just focus on the road just so I can get away from the cops here. Damn, okay. What do you guys think of that teacher? Oh my god, NPC drivers right now. Do you know what I always found so stupid about so many teachers though? You know, I find so ridiculous about them is the teachers basically there's some unreasonable teachers that they don't even give you a late penalty. They'll just give you an immediate 0. If it's not due on the day that they give you the assignment, it's an immediate 0. But then do you know what they do? They take like a month to grade your paper. Like over a month. Like at that point. It's like, what the hell are you doing? It's like that. It's like if you have like a class of like 30 students, right? Like, wouldn't you just be able to just grade like 2 or 3 papers in a day? I mean, I don't expect to grade all 30 in like a day, but like, why does it take you like over a month to grade it? Especially if it's like a 2-page paper. Why would that take you like a a month to grade something like that? So it's like, I just find that so personally for me, I find that hypocritical when a teacher does not give you a 0 immediately when it's not due on the first day, but then they take like a month to grade something. I just personally think that's ridiculous. I think students should start giving them time frames. If you're gonna tell a student that they're gonna get a 0 on their paper if they don't give us do it on the second day, then I expect you to grade that paper really quickly. Then at that point, you know, you're not gonna, you know, you're not. I wouldn't give. I know I wouldn't be able to control anything, but I would personally, in my mind, I would just say, okay, well, I'm giving you a due date until you grade my paper too. So that's personally what I would how I would view it. Do we have to lose the cops first? Never thought you'd comment on an Inside Edition video. Oh, you saw my comment on the Inside Edition video. Okay. Are you talking about the cop one? Is that the one? Binded Eagle that you're talking about? Okay, try to lose these cops here. That was just a horrible situation, that video. Thank you, Ricardo, for the super chat. You know, I'll tell you guys this other story, though. I had, so for people wondering how I got my second 0, so I told you guys I got a 0 in college once, right? I told this story before, too, so for people that didn't hear it. But there was a professor that I had in college, and it was like a lab class. It was like science, some kind of lab class. It was like the first year of college that I took it. And what happened was we would have a lab assigned to us every week, right? And how we would basically do it is we would work in groups of 2. And what would happen is how typically it was done, each group member would do 50% of the work, right? And then they would add their paper together and just make one big paper, and they would share their research with the other student. So, you know, you'd share your research with your partner, and they would share your research with yours, and you would just add it together. And what happened was, this guy that I had as my partner, right? He was sick for like two days. I had that class, I think it was like 3 days a week, I think it was. And he was sick at like, no, I think the class is actually 2 days a week. That's what I think it was. And he was sick for, he was apparently sick, but now I don't think he was sick. I think he was just skipping class. But he didn't show up to class for like a week or so. And what happened was we had the assignment, and I did my part of the assignment already. And then he comes in, like, you know, the class, because the next class day that I would have would be 2 days from that point on. And what happened was he said to me, sorry, I've been out sick or something like that. He's like, and I said, I already did like, my part of the lab. And he's like, cool. Can you give me your part of the lab? I'll take it home and I'll add my part to it and my research and we'll combine it together on the due date, which is 2 days from now. Because it was a Tuesday, and then Thursday it was due. And I said to him, okay, cool, fine. And I gave him my part of the lab, which I shouldn't have done. But my teacher saw this. He saw that I gave my classmate my work. He saw the work that I did, and he saw that I gave my classmate this. And what happened was that student never came back on Thursday. He never came back. He dropped the class. So that was it. And what happened was he took my lab. There was no way for me to contact him. He didn't even have the luxury of dropping off my lab at class. So he took my lab. And my teacher gave me a 0. Because he said I didn't hand anything in. And I said to him, you saw me give my lab to this kid. You saw me. I was working on my part of the project. I did my share. I should get a fair grade for this. You saw that I put work into this. You can't screw me over like this. And he said to me, that's not an excuse. It was my responsibility that I gave it to that student. Maybe it was my fault for giving it to him, but he was my partner, and I didn't want him to get a 0. And so he told me he'd add his part of the project to it, and that he was supposed to do his part of the work, and we were supposed to combine it. And do you know what the story gets even worse? Because he embarrassed me. He shamed me in front of the entire class. That guy. He shamed me in front of the entire class. And he said, you know what your problem is, Patrick? You trust people too much. That's what he said to me, like in front of the whole class. And nobody was laughing at me. Like most of the class agreed with me. Like they were just most of the classmates. Like they talked to me afterwards. They're like, I'm sorry he did that to you and stuff like that. But it was like just the fact that you gotta still shame me in front of the class like that. That was just and I never forgot that. And that was just such a messed up thing that he gave me a 0. He could have given me. He could have if he wanted me to do the work again. He could have just at least asked that I do the work again. And given me like a 2-day grace period at least, but like literally just giving me a 0 like that was that whole thing. That was ridiculous, and that was just it was just that. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe I shouldn't have given it to my classmate, but I didn't want my classmate to get a 0. But it was just he didn't have to shame me. Yes, I'm friends with RPG gameplay. Have you seen AI voicing presidents while they play video games like Super Mario Bros? If you haven't, you gotta watch it. It's way too hilarious. I have seen videos like that, Binded Eagle. They are kind of funny. Yeah, I've seen videos like that. Thank you for the super chat, Binded Eagle. Because I'm not that type of person, Ricardo. But, the thing about it is that I'll tell you this. That same teacher... I got into a bit of an argument with him later on in the class because I was just tired of him. That same teacher, he was very entitled. He was like, that same teacher, he was from another country. And, what I'll say about this, the reason I'm bringing this up is because he would talk about how the education system in his country is so much better than America's. And he wouldn't even say this in like a nice way. He was more of just insulting the U.S. the way he would say it. And I basically said to him, like, one day, like, I said up in the class, I said that, he started talking about how the education in America should be standardized, like, across all 50 states and stuff like that. And I said to him, I'm like, you do realize that America is built on states' rights? And he's like, what does that have to do with anything? And I said to him that in America, like, each state is almost like its own country in a way, but it's united by the federal government. And I said, that's American culture. That's the American way. It's like, we might not have as good of an education system as some other countries, but in America, you have the freedom to choose. You have the freedom to choose whether you want to send your kids to a private school, public school, religious school, whether you want to homeschool them. And so we might not have as high grades as other kids in other parts of the world, but the best part about it is that in America, you have the right to choose what kind of education you want. And I said to him, do you think that kids in Alaska should learn the exact same thing that kids in New York should? And basically I said to him that people in every state have the right to decide what their kids learn on in schools. And so, you can't have, like, bureaucrats in, like, Washington, D.C. telling kids all the way in Alaska or, like, parts of Wyoming or Montana or something like that, like, what their kids should be learning. It should be up to every single state to decide. The people in that state know best what their kids should learn. And that's just my viewpoint, what I told my teacher, is that you might disagree with that, but in America, we might not have higher test scores. You have the freedom to choose. And so it started like a whole argument with that and everything like that. And he was just basically bringing up all the other parts of the world have higher test scores. And I said to him, it doesn't matter to me if other parts of the world have higher test scores. It's like I said, in this country, you have the right to choose. And that's what it was. And by, trying to force like a standardized thing, you're kind of infringing on states' rights by doing something like that. So that's ultimately what I was arguing with him about, because I was tired of his crap. Like I said, like this is a very entitled guy. He was very rude to his students a lot of times. And when he started talking about how like, you know, bad the education system was in America, I thought I'd actually say something about that, because he's the one here who's teaching in the first place. You know, it's like if you think that the education system is so bad, like, you know, why are you teaching here? You know, why are you a teacher? So that was just that about that guy. There's one of my students, one of the students in the class actually told me that he said one time that American students are delinquents. I'd never heard him personally say that, but that's what he said. But I wouldn't be surprised he said that, because he was not a nice man. So that's just what I thought. I was just getting personally just a bit annoyed with him. I know the American education system isn't perfect. I know there's, you know, bad things in it, don't get me wrong. There's stupid things in the American education system, definitely. But when he was making it seem like America is like the worst education system in the world, like no, that's just going way too far. So that's just personally. So that was kind of like my attempt to stand up to him after that. For that, he didn't give me, you know, he didn't kick me out of the class or anything like that. But I was just like, I thought I'd say something about that, because it was just was he Dutch by any chance? No. I'm not gonna say where he was from. He was just from a country. He was from another country where it was the country that he was from had very high living standards, and it was so he was just talking about how better the education system was in his country. But you know, I just personally didn't like it how you know, I just didn't like it how he was talking down to like American students and trying to make American students feel like dumb and stuff like that. And that's what he wasn't doing it in like a nice way. That's just what I'll say about him. He was, what is the worst kind of classmate to have? A classmate who doesn't help in projects, like me. So, you know, in my story is I don't have a problem with him, like, you know, teaching in America. I had no problem with that. And just my issue was just personally when he was just trash talking like the American education system constantly and just making it seem like it was the worst. There's countries that have much worse education systems than America. I know America isn't the best, but there's countries that have much worse education systems than America. But he was making it seem like it was the worst, and that's just what I just didn't like about his little speech in class. Once in 4th grade in the library, I got accused for saying the F word and talking about, well, I don't, well, I mean, I guess you shouldn't be saying things like that in class, but, I don't know the whole situation, so I can't speak on it. Binded Eagle. Thank you for the super chat though, but, let me see here. Did I miss any more comments? I have seen the AI voicing the presidents. Yes, I have seen that. I didn't say anything though. Oh, you didn't? Oh, you got accused for saying the F word. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I read your comment wrong. I apologize. So you didn't say anything, but they still got you in trouble. I'm sorry about that. I read your comment wrong. But yeah. My friend, you know, my friend got in trouble once. My friend got in trouble, and he actually got, did he get suspended? I'm trying to remember what he got suspended or whether he got detention. I don't remember. But one of my friends in real life, he actually got in trouble, and I know he was innocent. He didn't do anything wrong. But basically what happened was there was kids who brought like a stink bomb in the class, which just smells horribly. And what he would do is they were throwing it around the class, and it landed right next to him, and he kicked it away. And like right when he kicked it away, the teacher's like, "Hey, that's yours," and he's like, "No, that's not mine. I just didn't want it near me." And he got in trouble for that. So that was like a dumb thing that happened to him. Thoughts on Metal Gear games? Oh, I haven't I've played a few of them, but I haven't really ever gotten into them. Thank you, Melons. But sorry about that, Binding Eagle. I read your comment wrong. My favorite high school class? History. Yeah, history, I would say. I liked history. What job do you think pays more than it deserves? I don't think there really is a job that pays more than it deserves, because, you know, it's like, you know, who are we to judge how people make their money? You know, that's, as long as, like I said, as long as they're not hurting anybody, they're not scamming anybody, they're not taking advantage of anybody, they're not breaking any laws, who's for us to judge how people make their money? You know, that's what I'll say about that. But I can tell you that there are jobs that I think should pay much more than what they pay. Like I think I personally think that cashiers should get paid much more than they do. That's just my viewpoint. I think companies should pay them much more than they do, because I don't think minimum wage is like a fair wage for like a cashier. Because being a cashier, you got to put up with a lot of crap. It's not the hardest job ever, but I think that a lot of people take it for granted. So I think that what is that, zombie? Oh. I would be willing to play some Nintendo games. I had a substitute teacher for calling me a smart A for saying I understood he will teach next class. My classmates reported him to the principal and he got fired. Ah, well, that's, he should have made a comment like that to you. Oh, I don't know what that is, Michael. Have you ever witnessed a school fight? Oh yeah, several. I've seen a few fights. I've never been involved in a fight. I got attacked once. This kid hit me on the back of the head once, knocked me to the ground. But I told that story before. I'll tell that story possibly on next stream. But I've never been involved in a fight, but I've seen them happen. Yes. Yes, in a little bit, Isaiah, I'll be ending the stream. Have you ever seen a crime scene during your time as law enforcement student? No, I haven't seen a crime scene, but my teacher has showed us several body cam videos. He has, my teacher has shown us, like, stuff that might appear at a crime scene, like stuff like that. How often do you work out? Usually like 3 days a week. I got suspended for no reason once because people were jumping me. Yeah, that's the stupid thing. I know how you feel, Blades. Is that if you defend yourself against people who attack you in school, you'll still get suspended. And sometimes you get the same sentence as the people who attacked you in the first place, which is just ridiculous. So yeah, I get you. Real body cams? No, he didn't bring in the body cam itself, but he showed us like footage. Sure, Binded Eagle. I'll take a look at it. What happened, what happened to your video, Dark Viper AU, during GTA GeoGuessr? What do you mean? Wait, can you explain what you mean? Dark Viper is a friend of mine, and it was a lot of fun doing a GTA GeoGuessr with him. It's gone on YouTube? No, it's not. I see it. I still see it. No, it's here. It's, No, the video's still public. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm actually gonna contact Dark Viper AU soon, because I'm just gonna message him on Twitter, and I'm gonna ask him I'm gonna ask him whether he can share my petition for the GTA 4 remaster and like a post. Yeah, because Dark Viper AU is a much larger channel than me, and if he can share my GTA 4 remaster post, I know that will get a lot of signatures. So that would help a lot. You should do another video, Dark Viper. Well, that's up to him. If he wants to do another video, I'm always down for it. So if you guys, if you guys want me to make one with him, I'm down with it. But he would just have to let me know. I don't know. I don't have any ideas that I could make of a video with Dark Viper AU. But if he wants to make another video with me, I'm perfectly fine with that. He would just have to tell me what he wants to do, and I could help him with that. Yes, I'll do Red Dead Redemption 1 this year. Do you like school? College I enjoyed for the most part. High school, not really. Do you think GTA 4 aged better than GTA 5? Yes. I think GTA 5 sometimes aged for the worst, like with the Oppressor Mark II. Saboteur is a great game. I still have to do that lore video on it. 204 hours. Wow, that's ridiculous. 51 items. I fast-tracked the research. It was like over $10 million because I didn't feel like dealing with it personally. But I guess we'll be wrapping it up here, guys. Thank you guys for watching my stream. Thank you for hanging out with me. And if you guys like the stream, do drop a like on it if you guys like the stream. It does help me out a lot. And yeah. Oh, why is that, James? Well, I will have a lore video. And thank you, El Dragon, for that super chat. I will have a lore video on GTA 4 later this week. So check it out because it'll be a good one. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your I hope that you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. So I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.